Mixing tip, mastering with mix stems. Um, Now, in working with audio and mastering, I actually have a full session here, although I don't really need it. I've kind of laid out an entire mix. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little fun here. I'm actually just going to take this and kind of make all of this inactive so it's not kind of messing with anything that we're doing. And then I'm going to step back here. And what I have is a session that's set up with mix stems and a stereo master fader. So let's start by defining mix stems. Essentially what I have are 4 stems, drums, which actually have bass included, instrument, so this is all the instrumentation, musical instrumentation, the lead vocal with effects, and the background vocal with effects. And the way that that lays out here is a series of stems that look exactly like this. Now, what I've done here is I've actually bounced them out from a mix session just to kind of show how you can take them and kind of work with them. You'll notice that when I bounce out the stems here, and this is kind of an important point, like actually I printed out the final mix here, and there was a sort of an edit and a mock mastering session that was done here on the stereo. If we do this and we start to work with this, you'll notice that each of the stems, one, the levels aren't overly exaggerated. There's nothing there. You notice that there's no fade out. So I actually have a fade out on the master fader. So I've preserved my master fader. So it's a very important thing, and a lot of people make this mistake when they bounce out their stems. They actually bounce it out with the fade out. And the difference between an instrumental mix and an instrumental stem is that an instrumental mix has the fade out. So it actually has like all of the drums and music minus vocals. That's an instrumental track, or sometimes people call it like a drumapella or a percapella, where it's just drums only or drums and percussion only, instrumentation only, vocals with effects, okay, like if you have an a cappella version. And those versions will have fade outs built in. That's different than a vocal stem or an a cappella stem. The stem has no fade out, and that gives you the ability to kind of work with it independently. I can change it. I could leave that out. I can do a completely different edit on the end and mix it so that it has a hard ending. It gives you some flexibility. The idea of this is that it gives you the ability to recreate any kind of mix within the context or of whatever you're doing. So if you're kind of mastering this or maybe bouncing it out for like a normal mix, I would have the ability to take any of these individual stems and kind of process them. So if we listen to the song here, we'll have our normal mix. And it's very important to note that these stems are bounced without the mix bus processing. The idea is that if this was my original mix bus processing here, I have the ability to change this now.
Yeah. Slow down, baby, take a moment and breathe. I can hear what you're saying. Stop for a minute.
So here, my mix bus is bounced out, and basically what I have is a Fairchild compressor, just a little bit of peak limiting, and then I have a Studer tape machine through the Slate virtual tape. And this is so this actually would be the final mix out, mix bounce down. And now I can recreate this exactly. So when I do the bounce out of the stems, there's no mix bus processing because it gives me the ability to recreate that. Now, what's cool about this is that when I have these stems, it gives me the ability to recreate any kind of mix at any given point. So for example, if with this setup, now with here, without having to run the whole session, I have these bounced out exactly. This gives me the ability to, for example, do a vocal up version. So if I wanted to do a vocal up by 1 dB version, or all vocals up by 1 dB, I could do this, just raise up those parts right there. And now I have my identical mix. Let me kind of scoot right over to where they are. Or maybe I want to raise just the background vocals. Or maybe I want to raise the background vocals just for a certain part or a certain section. Or maybe I want to do an edit where I want to cut the vocal out for for a particular thing. Sometimes this is very handy also if you need to bounce or bleep something out in terms of explicit lyrics, because you can go in and you could bleep out just the lyric or the vocal that has the bad word without blotting out all of the music, just the vocal track. And you can kind of work that in where you put in a tone or a blip or some other noise or whatever it is that you want to do, and be creative with it. It also gives you the ability to actually work with these individual tracks in terms of processing. So if I felt like, for example, from a mastering stage here, that I wanted this whole mix to kind of pump a little bit more. So, now with this, I'll just go to something that I was doing before, just as like a kind of VCA compressor. So thinking more from the mastering level, compressors and processors, as opposed to running like just an SSL compressor or something like that. So here for the drums, I could do sort of a classic SSL kind of pumping type of configuration, and keep it kind of just on the drums. So this processing, so this is just on the drums and bass. So that gives me the ability to kind of rework the drums a little bit independent of the rest of the music. And if I wanted to, also do some kind of a processing on the instruments to kind of bring out a little bit more air, like maybe I wanted to bring out a little bit more presence. So I can go to something, let's just say like a low level compression here, where I just kind of bring up a little bit of low level presence on the instrumentation. I want to be careful of the levels here because I'm still running through my mix bus compressors here. So, I can deal with this on this end, or I may, swap this out entirely. Now I could. So maybe here on these guys, maybe I want to go in and bring something. I know what I'll do. I'll just do like a go to something that's like a little bit more on the vintage side. Let me just kind of go back here to like a Neve, like a 33609 or something like that, and kind of work this a little bit on the lead vocal. And this is one other way to kind of bring in. Maybe if I do this with a light ratio, a little bit of makeup gain, maybe I'll do like an audio or recovery setting and kind of go with a. So here, when I'm working with this, I'm just doing like some subtle things. This would bring in a little bit of warmth and a little bit of separation from the instrumental part.
You're scared I might fail you, and so you're leaving here before it goes wrong. Don't you know you can't keep running from where you belong? Oh yeah, oh yeah, and I'll find you again. Pretend, oh yeah, and I'll find you again. No river to run or mountain to climb. I won't let goodbye.
So all I was doing here is I switched to a faster recovery, so a smoother recovery on the background vocals, and I switched to a fast release on the vocals here. So now,
Tell you're scared
just to make it kind of stand out on top of the track a little bit. So I don't need to solo because those are, I'll have all four tracks in, so they're kind of together.
tell you're scared I might fail you.
But this is with and without the processing.
Leaving here before it goes wrong. Don't you know you can't keep running from where you belong? Oh yeah, oh yeah, and I'll find you again. Pretend, oh yeah, and I'll find you again. No river to run or mountain to climb. I won't let
So this allows me to treat the individual aspects of the mix independently. Now, I still have to deal with it as an overall whole. This is kind of a common processing if you set up your mix as a mix engineer when you're routing it. Like here, I have my mix broken down into actually 5 stems, which I then recorded or bounced down into 4 stereo mix stems. So the mix session is really right here, and I can actually do a very similar thing right on this that I'm kind of doing here. This is kind of adding like another stage or kind of flavor to it. So I felt if I felt like I wanted to bring in more warmth into the drums or to the bass, I could do so by processing here without affecting the keyboards and the piano and some of the other instrumentation. Or what I could do is I could add a little warmth to the low end on the drums, take a touch away by the exact same amount in the instrumentation so that there's some kind of give, take, and kind of balance. Now, in a stereo mixdown, you don't have that ability. So shaping and kind of working with the sounds in that discrete of a way is just not possible. So even doing something as subtle as, I'll just do just real quick here, just like an HEQ. I could just do like a little bit of a mid-range kind of, oops, I'll take that out there. Maybe kind of go to like a little bit more of a standard thing. Just kind of do a, oops, I'm using the wrong, let me just get out of the way here. There we go. All right, so say I wanted to do like kind of a subtle mid-range dip. I'll just sort of exaggerate it here just so you could kind of see. So I'm like right around 200 cycles, but if I wanted to kind of open up the drum sound, I could actually do this, or even
tell you're scared I might fail you, and so you're leaving here before it goes wrong.
so I could work that a little bit to tighten that up. And again, if you're doing this on a full mastering mix level, stereo mix level, it gives you less discrete control. Now, one thing I will say, if you do mastering work and you get into this type of thing, it is more work. So doing a stemmed mastering actually ends up being, it's a more expensive venture if you're hiring somebody else or you're doing it as opposed to doing a stereo mix. But this can be particularly helpful if you're doing your own work and you're mastering and you bounce it out this way with the stems and you lay it out. It will give you sort of a secondary level of control. So if you haven't routed everything out in a structure like this where you stem everything out as part of your mix, when you do your bounces, be very careful to do those bounces without the master bus processing, no fade outs, all that, bounce them into stereo tracks like this, and then it gives you the ability to sort of work and kind of process them a little bit individually, as well as kind of pulling them all together on the mix bus. And this is not the full extension or the full mastering, more or less to give you kind of the whole idea of how it works, and then you lay it out and kind of bounce it out into a stereo mix, and you do your limiting and all that other sort of stuff. So anyway, that's a quick little tip on an approach to working with mastering and working with mix stems. Hopefully give you some good ideas for how to make your work sound that much better.